episode 2 of the Cyber Spotlight series, SA edition. And joining me today is Derek Grokey, co-founder and director of CyberOps. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. So we're going to jump into our questions and kick off with the first one. So can you tell us a little bit about CyberOps and how it all began? What was the story and who is behind CyberOps?
Cool. So CyberOps is a specialist or boutique cyber company. We work primarily within defence, large corporates. We also look at supporting a lot of the small to medium businesses around South Australia, but also broadly Australia. And we also have relationships internationally as well. The other side of CyberOps is also space. So we construct and manage satellite ground stations. We've got a correlation and visualization network that also supports tracking of satellites as they go over Australia. We primarily work in those areas with defence as part of the defence innovation process that they have, and well supported, and we try to give back to defence as much as possible as well. Behind the scenes, you've got Daniel Floriani and myself, Derek Grokey. It's the two principal consultants, and we come from similar but different backgrounds. So we come from, Daniel particularly, from a large organisation, Cisco, for many years, space team working around the world, but primarily with the US arm of Cisco. We also work with organisations in defence, and Daniel coming from a defence background as well with DSTG and other groups. We also do a lot of the sort of consulting and those sorts of things in that area. Myself, background being radio electronic engineering. We also look at anything from the ground station stuff I mentioned earlier, but I also do a lot of work in the risk consulting. I worked for Ernst & Young for a number of years, Internode IINet as a security manager, software companies and so forth. So we bring a lot of skills to the table, we hope. And when we enter into engagement with a customer, we will typically talk about what they do and how they work. And both of us having also manufacturing backgrounds as well over the years, we work within that manufacturing industry, which then lends itself to defence and also corporate as well.
Excellent, that's great. Quite diverse.
We are.
Big range of areas to work in, and a strong focus on defence, which is really important for SA. So you've kind of touched a little bit on the kind of things CyberOps does. You know, you've mentioned consulting, you've mentioned some of the other aspects of work you do, but who are your typical customers, if you have a typical customer, and maybe sort of what's your standard sort of service offering at the moment?
So with the defence working with the small to medium enterprises, we will be looking at things like the defence readiness reviews that we do to support them moving into as a defence supply chain organisation. We also assist large corporations, the likes of manufacturers as well as international product providers. The typical process we'll go through, we'll be looking at ICT maturity assessments. We do internal and external vulnerability assessments. We will look at security architecture. We'll look at their procurement processes, supply chain, and also ongoing operations. So we take a lot of our experience of who the businesses we've worked with, and also who we are as individuals, and we try to help those organisations. So nothing's off limits. Excellent. And if we don't know, we'll go find someone that does, or make a new introduction to that organisation, once again for the client to succeed.
Yeah, fabulous. And so we know you're based in SA.
Yep.
We're on the SA edition of the Cyber Spotlight series, but could you tell us a bit about whereabouts you're positioned within the state, and how many staff do you currently have?
Yep. And
are you looking to grow that number?
So yeah, primarily working out of Stone and Chalk at the moment, and also Lot 14 as a larger group. Being heavily involved in A3C and also friends of OffCyber. We do work a lot in the Adelaide CBD, but we have major contracts in Canberra, and also relationships out of Melbourne and Sydney. So a lot of what we're doing, given COVID and those sorts of things, is online. A lot of Teams sessions, a lot of catching up with people providing advice. We also participated recently in the NATO conference out of Estonia, working during the day and also then the conference at night. And was able to contribute a lot to those sessions as well within the workshops and so forth. So We work internationally, but with domestic focus. Yeah.
That's fantastic. It never stops for CyberOps, does it?
Stops, no.
So you've mentioned Lot 14 and SACBD. What is it about South Australia that it has to offer in terms of benefits that you would think our point of difference is? What have we got to offer as opposed to other states or territories?
I think the biggest thing that we find is the community and also the ability to be able to talk to people. So we can walk across the street, knock on a door and talk to somebody immediately. We're hyper connected as a state, and also that also allows us to be agile in the way that we work, and likewise being able to help people. So if there is a problem, we can generally find someone very quickly within the network of friends, and that goes from old school friends from high school and universities through to people that have come with their businesses to the state, and likewise the community of Lot 14 and likewise OffCyber and other groups like that assist with us actually talking across a broader industry, particularly in cyber, as a horizontal rather than just the vertical.
Perfect. And if there was something that state government or even federal government could do to really, thrust the growth of the cyber industry forward, or that could change the way that the growth is working, what would that be? How would you sort of describe that?
Yeah, I think the increasing the amount of collaboration, I think is pretty key. I have a bit of a bugbear. I like to think that we're building the industry within Australia, and therefore we need to be supporting local industry. Yeah. There's been a trend over the last few years where we can allow and partner with larger internationals and bring them into the country. But what that does in many cases is it actually reduces the innovation from the local industry. So I think there's a balance there. Yeah. I think from a local government and federal government perspective, it's all about bringing problem statements that actually means something for the local industry to solve.
Yeah.
I think that really does allow for some level of commitment to the local industry to say, if you build it, we will purchase it. And likewise, there's an ability for government to purchase local wherever possible. And I think there needs to be more of an emphasis on that wherever we can. Once again, to support the growth of the industry and keeping the funds and likewise the workforce local as well.
And that makes total sense, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Excellent. So at some stage through establishing CyberOps and through growing your company, you would have come across OffCyber, obviously.
Absolutely.
And so could you maybe reflect on that, and do you remember sort of what it was that was your first sort of interaction with OffCyber, and maybe, explain what the value is that you've encountered through working with OffCyber over the years?
I think the biggest thing is it reflects the similar spirit to why CyberOps was constructed. Yeah. Okay, so we are here to help, we're here to innovate, we're here to bring a community to bear, we're happy to be proud of what we do, but also hand relationships and also responsibility onto others. Yeah. Okay, so it's about that community, and I think that comes with strength of a industry, not just the cyber industry, but the industries that cyber supports, and that, as we know, is all industries these days, given the technology slant. Yeah. So I think that's really what we find with OffCyber. It's a similar reason we exist, yeah. And that works for us. We've also had opportunities to present to OffCyber, and that's been received quite well. And also that whole collaboration area with the national OffCyber group has also been quite positive. And likewise, having yourself locally and being able to, as part of our community, and being able to come to. The concept of taking ownership over problems, and also as in, these are the things that we'd like to change, and being that collaborative group with no vendor or any particular hidden agenda, yeah, is also quite refreshing as well. So you're here for the cyber industry, but here for the nation and yeah, the outcome for the country. So, and that's quite a positive thing. Similarly with the ACSC and JCSC initiatives, both work in different areas, but similarly, that's been a quite positive experience as well.
Yeah, having that level of impartiality around without having to be tied to one particular side or vendor or anything like that does make a big difference as to how openly you can talk to people. So.
And I think we always have the byproduct,
yeah, but it's
good to have that risk discussion first, to then decide what best fits the problem statement once you've decided what it looks like. And I think that's important as well. Yeah. I think more so these days we're also looking at some of our staff that we're taking on. So we've got a new staff member that's just about to come on, and probably another 2 or 3 within the next 6 to 12 months. Yeah. we're a specialist organisation. We're never going to be hundreds of people.
Yep.
We are here to assist in all those realms and the areas that we're looking at doing. We're reinventing a company at the moment in that we're looking at ISO 27001, ISO 9000 and 9001 from a quality perspective. So we're going through a business transformation internally as we grow as a business as well.
That's quite a bit of work to take on whilst you're also delivering work for other people, right?
It is, yeah. Late hours.
Yeah,
late hours.
I imagine.
Yeah.
So obviously you mentioned you do a fair bit of work with defence. So without breaking any sort of, commercial in confidence secrets or customer sort of secrets, what's the next piece in the puzzle for CyberOps? What's the next big thing that you guys are working on?
So I think we developed the Space Cyber Framework for Defence, and that is a bit of our cyber brain. Certainly knowing how systems and integration, but also enterprise architecture works, and where different organisations may contribute both within the country and how the internationals also need to play a part in that. We're looking at taking that national and also embedding that within the defence industry, but also within the space industry. So part of the process is that we've actually interviewed a range of industry participants, anything from launch pad providers to rocket manufacturers to satellite creators to ground station networks, a whole range of things, and the customer segment as well. So that's what the architecture looks at, and then we look at a maturity assessment underneath that, which is around identifying the maturity of that organisation against a technical readiness level, and also as a business to be able to sustain the supply chain, which means that either defence or commercial industries could then buy that product with confidence. So we're looking at pushing that out further and also then embedding that in the day-to-day processes. The other side is the space ground station work that we work in, and that's reasonably specialist as well. And that's part of the Defence Innovation Hub that Defence has, and that's around developing space capabilities to support the country, typically sovereign.
Yeah.
Okay, so trying to increase the amount of local content we have, and also trying to increase the amount of local workers and employees, and allowing Defence to buy locally rather than always the only option is to go overseas for some of this higher technology sort of stuff. The other area, we're also increasing the amount of corporate work that we're doing as well. Trying to come up with leveraged mechanisms to help more people more efficiently and effectively. So a lot more automation, a lot more reporting and self-driven or customer-driven portals to allow them to request stuff, work quickly, address their needs, and also maintain reports on an ongoing basis. So we've got those primary sort of three themes that we're working on at the moment.
It sounds like you've got absolutely loads on your plate.
We have.
Just a small bit of work. Yeah. So where can people go if they want to find out a bit more about CyberOps?
Well, as I said, we currently go through a transformation, so we'll be releasing a new website soon, but the existing website being cyberops.com.au. And also there's another one called Reportal with 1t.com. But they're effectively brands and also products that we produce as CyberOps. But CyberOps definitely. Our LinkedIn page is also there. We're on Twitter. We're also linked to Facebook, but we're primarily Twitter and LinkedIn. Yeah.
Fabulous. So we'll send out some links when we publish this interview, Derek. So it's been absolutely fabulous talking to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And that's a wrap on our episode number 2, and we'll be back with another episode soon.